Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners. Welcome to a new week of Word Balloon Live, the Comic Book Conversation Show. John Suntress here. I believe it's the first time we've ever done video, and he hasn't been on the audio version of Word Balloon in a long time. But this is literally, I think, the first big creator I ever met beyond my local friends here in Chicago, the great Alex Saviuk. Welcome, Alex.
Well, thank you very much, John. I have to admit that opening is very impressive. You know, you sort of, when you see all that imagery of Alex Ross, one after the other, of Superman, I mean, the Man of Steel, and that super inspiring music track that you've got going with that, you just, I'll tell you, I wasn't exactly a big fan of the Zack Snyder Man of Steel, okay? However, when Henry Cavill walks out onto the, out of the fortress there, and he's, you know, taking in the sun and closing his eyes, and then the music starts getting all regal and stuff as he takes off in the air. Wow, that's great. That whole thing was fabulous.
I agree with you. I think Cavill is a great Man of Steel, Superman, regardless.
Right.
He reminds, you know, Leinil Yu, when he was drawing Superman about 20 years ago. That's what it reminds me of. I think Cavill looks like a Leinil Yu Superman.
Yeah, now that I think about it, I can agree with that. Yeah, that's crazy.
Absolutely, man. And well, you've had your share of Superman moments over the years. I believe this splash page has Superman in it. There he is.
Oh yeah, I drew 7 issues of the Flash from number 273 to I think 279, and the only reason I got off the book was because I was all of a sudden started to do all this advertising work. Basically, the first thing that I was doing was a movie poster for a film that came out in 1978 called Arabian Adventure.
Okay.
And the client wanted something that looked comic booky for the movie poster, and it was a series of panels that I drew them. I guess they were large, 14 by 16 or something. And then they kind of took them in production. They put them in this particular layout. And what I heard from people was that, a lot of people didn't see it because they thought it was an animation. So they didn't realize it was live action. Even though it said, you know, Christopher Lee and Mickey Rooney and, let's see, I think it was Jane Seymour's debut. And they just thought maybe they were the voice actors, I guess. But wow. That was live action. It was. I never even saw the darn thing, to be honest with you.
I'm intrigued because I just pulled up on Google the cast. You're right. Christopher Lee, Emma Samms.
Oh, I'm sorry, Emma Samms. Jane Seymour's debut was in You Only Live Twice with Roger Moore, 1973. Yeah,
And some great. Well, first of all, Peter Cushing as well, which is
right.
amazing. Milo O'Shea and John Ratzenberger. John Ratzenberger, Cliff Clavin from Cheers.
That's
Milo
right.
O'Shea, tremendous character actor. And like you said, Mickey Rooney, yeah, I kind of want to see this, man. I don't know. Maybe it's lurking on YouTube. It's one of those movies that you would think,
You know what?
might be.
I should have thought about that a long time ago because sometimes I talk to my brother and I say, "Where'd you see that?" "Oh, I pulled it up on YouTube." Everything's on YouTube. I should definitely. You can check it out right now, even as we speak.
Yeah, man. I might, as we're talking and stuff, see if we can find it on YouTube or whatever. Here, greetings from Greece. Thank
Oh
you,
yeah, Costas. Hello, Costas. How are you?
Very cool. And Wayne with a Bond correction. Live and Let Die was the Jane Seymour movie. That was the first Bond movie I saw in the theater, Alex. Which
Oh
will
really?
show you. Well, again, I'll show you our slight age difference. How about
Yes.
this? And I made Jeff Loeb laugh with this confession. The first couple Bond movies I think I saw them on ABC when they were the Sunday movie of the week,
Okay.
and I saw them on black and white TVs. So
Oh.
I assumed they were black and white films. Dr. No, Goldfinger,
Right.
From Russia with Love, all three of them. I thought until the VCR era, that's when I'm like, oh, they're in color.
Yeah, I think I was 10 when the first James Bond movie came out. And oddly enough, you look at that movie now and you go, geez, Sean Connery was 31 in that movie. He looked like just like a very seasoned guy in his late 30s or early 40s because he had those deep furrows in his, face and everything.
Yeah.
Did not look 31, actually. And even when he was 40, then you go, God, he's a very old looking 40. He gained like 25, 30 pounds and, the whole thing. By the time he did the last one with Jill St. John, you go, geez, he's 40 and he looks like he's been having a couple of too many Glenlivets.
100%, man. I so agree with you. Yeah, he looks a lot older, and it was only like 4 years, not even maybe 3 years between You Only Live Twice and then Diamonds Are Forever.
So now you look at he's in 62, he's 31.
Right.
And then in 1970, so he's 39 or 40, right?
Sure.
And then when you think ahead and you go, okay, so when Clint Eastwood did his first Dirty Harry movie, I think he was 40. And he didn't look 40. Had that great hair and he just, very young looking guy.
Very youthful.
And but Magnum Force, he still had the similar look. But then as time went on, he started losing some hair and he, whatever. But some guys age gracefully and some guys don't.
Did you watch that latest movie of his on HBO Max?
I have not seen it yet. Haven't
taken
the time.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, sometimes when my wife and I sit and we finished watching, you get the regular TV shows that we like, and sometimes you go, can we just watch a movie? I'm kind of like just a little fed up, just constantly watching these same programs and whatever. And I issue the same complaints. We like to watch New Amsterdam. Okay.
Yeah.
Medical program.
Yeah.
And the thing is that, I got a great TV, but the speakers aren't on the side anymore like they used to be on the old LCDs. They're in the back firing down. So you got to turn it up a little louder. And then I don't have a sound bar that can basically weed out the background music. So while these guys are going down the hallway talking, somebody in the background is playing drums and all kinds of percussion and stuff. And I'm going, you got to be kidding me. What the heck's going on here? I can't hear this stuff.
That's awesome.
So, but, so we watched, we watched some movie last night. And wow, I can't remember the title because I'd never heard of it before. But Rebecca Ferguson was in it, if you know who that is.
I don't.
She was the female lead opposite Hugh Jackman in that musical that he did. And she also was a supporting character in one of the Mission Impossible movies, the girl on a motorcycle, who was basically
the John Woo one, the second one.
Yeah, not the second one. I think it was probably in the fourth or the fifth one.
Oh, okay.
But at any rate, it was a World War II type thing, and we enjoy that kind of a genre. Okay.
Oh, me too.
And as you're on Prime Video, as you're queuing in on a particular movie, on the underneath it says, if you like this movie, you may like, and then they give you a whole row. And from there, it's like, oh, there's The Courier with Benedict Cumberbatch. We have to watch that next, okay? And we just watched this little movie that Benedict Cumberbatch made, The Electrical Life of Louis Wayne, set around the late 1800s, early 1900s. And Louis Wayne was in England, and he became an artist who was famous for drawing these very cutesy cats, okay? And it's based on a true story.
Oh, wow.
And it was crazy. And it was that type of thing where, I don't know, did you see Bridgerton on Netflix?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, so now it's the same. It's basically a same situation, but true to life, where Bridgerton, the girls had to come out to every party with new dresses and a whole 9 yards looking for suitors. And if they didn't have suitors, they just ended up staying in the house. So that's what happened to Louis. Louis's parents got killed. The father got killed. So now he's the man. He's got to provide for everybody, while these sisters of his, that some were nice looking and some were not so nice looking, were waiting for suitors to approach, and they just never came by. So Louis got stuck, providing for everybody. But he was you could tell that he was a little, I don't know, ADHD or something like that, because there was something definitely a little bit off about him. He seemed to carry himself okay, but when he was getting pressured, you could tell that he was panicking. So he had an anxiety-ridden life, but it was a really, really nice film.
That's cool. I love period pieces. I love whether they're going back to the 19th century or World War II or the 30s or the 20s, whatever it takes. I'm really there. And also, I'm a big old Hollywood buff, and I know you are too. We've had conversations about old movies. So
yeah, I mean, there's an actress. Cool. There's a new actress out there who I'm sure you've heard. She did, I think her name is Anya Marie Joy, and she was in New Mutants, okay. But aside from that, she's done a couple of really good turns where she was the chess player on Netflix in that series. And then she did another movie called Emma, which was a period piece, and she was a real nasty whatever, and BI ... H at the end, okay. But wow, she's really a good actress. We really enjoy watching her films.
She's the it girl of the moment. I mean, they're really, Last Night in Soho, I forget what the title is. I'm sure Wayne or somebody that's watching us now will correct me on the title. But wow, Alex, I mean, even with that, I mean, I love talking movies, and we'll come back to that in a second. But already,
you mean we didn't plan this to talk movies?
Sorry, man. I know. People want to talk about your runs, man. Your various runs. Okay. And Denny's like, thoughts on your collaboration with Peter David on Web of Spider-Man. I have a really soft spot for that book.
Okay, do you have a really soft spot for Web of Spider-Man, or the 4-issue series that Peter David and I did, and you have a soft spot for that one? Because quite honestly, excuse me, that was the first and only time that I ever got to work with Peter. And it was a really well plotted story. And again, I'm working Marvel style from a plot. So I have the ability to choose how many panels I want to use per page in order to get the point across. And he left me, there were certain visual things that I did in that storyline that to this day, I'm very proud of and how I approached it. Especially there was this one scene in the 4th installment, I believe, where, or was it the end of the 3rd, where Peter and Flash Thompson and this Reverend guy were basically interviewing Betty Brant, who had become a cult member because the story was called The Cult of Love. And they had her handcuffed to a chair, and they got lights playing on her, and I was keying off the lights and doing these multiple panel things. And I thought it came out really well. It was a 3-page sequence. And not that long ago, I think I was on Comic Art Fans, and somebody has those 3 pages, and he presented it. He goes, "This is probably like one of the best scenes I have to my collection, et cetera, et cetera." I'd almost be tempted to ask him if you want to sell them back to me, but I don't want to have to pay a fortune for my own stuff.
I can appreciate that. Now, mentioning Comic Art Fans, this weekend we're going to do an hour for them. And then you're going to be selling some pages, whatever you got.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, we're excited, man. Really, I know Bill Cox is really happy to have you, and I know the comic art fans community. Obviously, if they've already, are already promoting some of the past purchases they've made of your stuff, I have no doubt that they're going to come out and see what you're selling. I always want to point out, and I swear to you, Alex, I do this all the time. As I point to this frame, two of your amazing Spider-Man comic strips, the daily strips, are in there, and they truly are among my favorite things that I've purchased over the years. And here's a Sunday one that's great. Now, is that you over Larry, or is Lieber?
No, this is me. This is Joe. This is me penciling and Joe Sinnott inking me.
That's great. Wow. And I love the classic panel there on the top right of the half Peter, half Spider-Man face.
Yeah, that was I think that title panel of him, crouching in the first panel, and then that half panel, half Spidey, half Peter. That's old heading stuff that John Romita Sr. did years and years ago. As a matter of fact, if you look at this panel here, the first one, it says Stan Lee, and probably initially it said J. Romita underneath it, but once he got off the strip, for some reason or other, they took that off and never bothered to just, indicate who the Sunday penciler was, at least. Although I do have a credit box, I think in panel 3, if you pull that up again.
Sure, I'll bring
it says,
back up.
Yeah, right here. Here?
I see it.
Yeah, Stan Lee, Saviuk and Sinnott. Saviuk/Sinnott. Yeah,
there you go.
I always have that. So it doesn't bother me that, I'm nowhere to be found where else. My name's still on it, so that's cool.
That's excellent. On my strips, it also has Stan's email on there. Whatever it was, comb over something.
Oh, comb K Man.
Oh, okay.
Yes, comb K Man. Or then at one point, I think it was Stan's Fans at AOL. It was always AOL.com.
Yep.
And but yeah, that was his email. When I used to get to speak to him personally on email, it was this comb with the K and then the man. So I never knew exactly what that was all about. Should have asked him, like, what's with the comb thing? But we never talked about it. A good Stan Lee story I have. Oh, please. Could you not recreate those pages? Maybe could I not recreate those pages? Maybe if you saw the actual ones from the web. Which pages are you talking about, Eva?
He might be meaning the Betty Brant sequence that you were just talking about.
Oh, could I recreate them? I mean, I have the comics here, and so yeah, I could recreate them if I wanted to. But it's funny because somebody, I guess if the price is right, I'll recreate anything. Okay, but I mean, Joe Kubert was asked a long time ago, "Hey Joe, listen, could you recreate X cover, whatever, Hawkman Brave and the Bold, number 36 or something like that?" And he goes, I could, but I really hate revisiting something that I had done before because all the energy I had was in that piece. So for me to recreate it, I couldn't duplicate that same energy,
I respect that.
And with those 3 pages, I mean, they were inked by Keith Williams. So I mean, if I were to recreate them, I mean, I can ink, so I could ink them myself, but then you'd have to get lettering, either, blow up the comic book and get the lettering off that and cut and paste it, and it could be a pain in the neck. But it can be done. Nothing can be done. Everything can be done.
Absolutely, man. No, and again, all I can point to is things like, this great sketch card you did for me.
Oh, okay.
Alex, I swear, man, I've got with the sketch card, I have 4 pieces from you. I have the Spider-Man strips. I have that sketch card. I have a great Hal Jordan Green Lantern you did for me years ago, and a great Batman head sketch that you did for me years ago. And truly, I swear to you, they're among my favorite pieces. They're all framed. They're on that. I mentioned you before we were recording. I've got a wall of commissioned art and stuff, and Hal Jordan's right there. So when I finally buy a decent chair for my back, I'll the camera will swing over, and your Hal Jordan will be above me.
So is my Hal Jordan and my Batman right next to that Frank Frazetta painting that you have?
I sadly no Frazettas, but I do have. I got oh god, and I got to look at his. There we go. DeZanuga, Tony DeZanuga. I've got a beautiful Jonah Hex that he did for me. I've got a beautiful Gene Colan blade that I
Oh,
got from Gene. That is
yeah.
great.
Nice.
So yeah, no, I got some nice, and I have a Neil Adams Batman as well.
Oh, wow. That's
So
very cool.
I prefer commissioned sketches versus buying original pages because to me it's like a private performance. It's like going to
Right.
Springsteen and going, "All right, sing Thunder Road for me right now." Okay, you know, I mean, and
Yeah,
that's how I
my
feel.
kids having a birthday party. Can you come and just do like two tunes? You know.
Exactly, man. So no, I love watching you guys sketch and everything. It's always amazing. So, oh, that's funny. Here we go. Wayne, who is calling himself Wing here, he's a big
Excuse me.
collector. No worries, man. And he says Alex did an amazing Hal Green Lantern for my friend's son in Baltimore. Very
Oh,
nice.
was that Baltimore just recently?
I'm
Because
assuming so. Yeah, man.
yeah.
Yeah, he was there. Wayne was there. Absolutely.
Oh,
And
cool.
uh, how do you say that?
Ah,
Eternaman forever. I think I have a sketch from you too somewhere from in a convention sketchbook. Very nice.
Eternatine for Eva.
Oh,
Oh,
there
he's
you go.
eternally a teen for this woman or this girl named Eva. I
Boy,
see.
good. Way to crack the code, man. That's very good. I like
It's
that.
basically it's young love. That's what it comes out
That's
to.
beautiful. Like what you're
Carrying
saying
through.
about. See, there you go. And he agrees. Darren agrees with me. He likes commissions over original art. But man, I'll tell you, I got some great pages of some of your classic stuff. First of all, let's look at this Phantom cover. Boom.
Oh,
I
yeah,
love that.
this is done for, as you can see, the yellow little circle there, oval. It says Fru. Fru is the company in Australia that has been publishing the Phantom, I think, for over 50 years. And they come out every 2 weeks, and they've
Wow.
always been traditionally coming out in black and white until the original publisher, Jim Shepard, passed away. I'm going to say probably around 2012 or 13, and then it was bought out by a couple of other people, and they've been experimenting here and there. Sometimes they have special issues where they do color, but at the same time, since they come out every 2 weeks, they don't have the finances to do new stories every 2 weeks. So they might do, I'm going to say something like 16 new stories a year. But then in the other books, they'll do reprints of
Sure.
old strips, collections of strips, even though you can kind of get them now at Hermes Press, where they collect everything. But now it's like, I mean, the fan that goes to the store and wants to spend $3 or $3.50 on a comic book and read some strips, it's a lot more cost effective for them than going to Hermes Press and buying a book for $50. So.
Sure. No, it's great, man. And I love that you've been doing the Phantom as long as you have. I mean, God, over 10 years, right? How long have you been doing
Well,
Phantom?
however, it worked out that, well, let's see, my first experience with the Phantom, I'm going to say, was an almost experience when I was working for DC Comics, initially doing Green Lantern and The Flash at the same time, which was a daunting task for a new guy, okay? 34 pages a month, and there's only 30 days in the month. So, I mean, I had to double up, and, that was Green Lantern 114. First cover that I had done for that book, and it was inked by Dick Giordano. So that was a
Wow.
honor for me,
Absolutely, man. That's fantastic. It looks amazing.
Yeah, and I did a couple of more covers after that, but I did about 15 of those books. And so I was doing The Flash at the same time. And I'm riding on the train to go to DC Comics, and Milt Snapin, who was a DC letterer, also lettered the Phantom strip for Cy Barry. Now, Cy Barry had gotten himself a great contract when he took over the strip in 1961.
Okay.
Brought his lawyer, the whole bit, got everything going for him. And so Cy had to produce the strip, just like Stan Lee produced the Spider-Man strip. Stan was in charge of it. He paid me, he paid Joe. We all got a check from his, I guess, one of his personal companies or something, SNL
sure.
Productions.
Sure.
Okay. And so, obviously nobody knows what they were paying Stan to do the strip, but, he paid everybody else to do it. And he gave us a good rate. I mean,
Good.
put it that way.
Good.
Back in the day, from what I understand, when the strip first came out, it was in about 500, 600, or 700 newspapers worldwide. And he paid a really good rate for the guys that probably 10 times more than you were making drawing regular comics, because it paid that well.
Well, again,
And
it's a strip. It was a worldwide strip, sure.
yeah, and over the years, though, sales on newspapers, strips, everything was dwindling. By the
Yeah.
time I took over the Sundays in 1997, it wasn't even being published in Florida, where I had been living already for 5 years. It was in
Yeah.
a couple of, it was, let's say, in a Detroit paper, in a Washington Post, some one paper in New York. And so I remember talking to Stan's assistant. He says, I'm not sure. It might be in about 40 or 50 papers now, but that's about it. But I mean, it has an online presence at King Features site, which is called comicskingdom.com, COMICS kingdom.com. I think if you subscribe for $20 a year, you can read everything in their archives going back about maybe 8 to 10 years. Plus the fact that if there's a strip that you really like, they give you the option of paying them $25 to make a print of that strip in color. Yeah, on some pretty good stock from what I understand. And if you, some people might have the original, let's say that I might have sold or Joe might have sold. And if they get a print of that comic strip, they can, post them side by side in the same frame or just side by side.
Sure.
So it makes sense to, want to go ahead and get that.
Wow, I should try that with my stuff. Is old, like my stuff's from around 2000, so I don't know if they go that far back.
Initially, when King Features did that $20 thing, from what I understand, you could go all the way back to 1936 and read all the Phantoms from back then. Now, somebody just told me recently, yeah, you can only go back about 8 or 10 years.
Okay,
so they kind of limited it.
I do know that they you can curate. This is what, boy, here's a free commercial for Comics Kingdom, but I don't mind because you're right. A, it's a great deal for a year, and B, it's kind of cool if you miss daily comic strips and you're not satisfied by what you get from the daily newspaper. I absolutely recommend this. And not only can you curate current strips, but you could go back and get retro strips. Like, I'm a big boxing fan, and I've got John Cullen Murphy's Big Ben Bolt.
Oh, okay.
And I did that, and I think I did Cy Barry's Flash Gordon back in the day. Didn't Cy do Flash?
But that was Dan Barry, his brother.
Dan Barry, excuse me. Yes, right. Of course it was. Shame on me. But no, that's true. And no, it's crazy, Alex. As someone who recently, when did you stop doing the strips for Spider-Man?
Well, Stan Lee passed away November, sometime this month, in another week or so. I forget the exact date.
Yeah, right. Let's say November. That's right.
Yeah, it was something like November 14th or something like that. Okay. And then I remember hearing from a friend of mine on Facebook, and they said, wow, it's such a shame that Stan passed away. And I said, what are you talking about? And they said, it's true. I heard that he passed away. And this person was from overseas. And I'm thinking, wait a second, I didn't get any calls. So I called up Stan's office in California, and it was probably like 1 o'clock in the afternoon here. So it was 10 a.m. there. And his assistant answered, and he says, yeah, it's true. I already got the confirmation, et cetera, et cetera. I spoke to Marvel. And I said, speaking of Marvel, hey, like, what's happening with the strip now? Because, well, Stan was editor emeritus at that particular point because he had macular degeneration. He couldn't really see to edit, more or less. You could talk to him about it, and then he could talk dialogue with you.
Sure.
But, the fact is that Roy Thomas had been writing the strip since the year 2000. So basically, yes. When I got on the strip in 1997, I was under the impression that Stan Lee was still writing it, although it just seemed kind of odd that he was, because it was in script form. And I thought Stan Lee never wrote a script, okay, in script form. It was always plot style.
Sure.
So I got 6 panels with art directions and dialogue. And then Jim Salicrup, my old editor on Web of Spider-Man, he was working out there with Stan, and he said that he was going to be ghost writing the strip for Stan, and Stan would just edit, make it sound like his rhythms, etc.
Sure.
So he did that for a year and a half, and I guess that must have been probably, 98, half of 98 and all of 99. And then he left because he says, Stan is rewriting so much of my stuff. I feel like I'm giving him more work than if he wrote it himself, so I'm leaving. But Roy Thomas is taking over. And that was, like I said, the year 2000. So Roy's been ghost writing it for all that time. And, I guess Roy just like artists can mimic other artists to a certain extent, writers can mimic other writers. So I guess Roy knew the rhythms that Stan employed in doing his stuff. So I guess Stan's editing on Roy wasn't as copious as it needed to be.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But so when Stan passed away, and his assistant Michael Kelly said, well, I spoke to Marvel, and they said we should just continue with the storyline that we're working on, and they haven't decided yet what they want to do with the strip. So I'm thinking they have to decide what they want to do. I mean, it's Roy Thomas, me, and Joe Sinnott. Stan is, actually towards the end, I think Michael Kelly might have been doing more editing than Stan, because Stan was not of good health. Okay.
Yeah.
And so at any rate, the storyline we finished, I think the last one was March 24th, and that was a Sunday, and I was usually about 3 months on ahead on the Sundays. So I probably did that one in December, and then the dailies usually were a month ahead for me. Well, I was penciling and inking them at that time.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Both.
And so I was about a month ahead. So if the last daily was the 23rd, I probably finished up somewhere in the middle of February. So that was the last time I did that. And, then you saw a letter in print from King Features. Well, right now the strip is going to go in hiatus, but we'll still keep reprinting strips so that you guys can have your fill of Spider-Man. In the meantime, they're going to be reworking things, and there'll be new adventures coming out, et cetera, et cetera. And I thought, oh, well, that's cool. So I tried to get in touch with somebody at King Features, and they said that, excuse me, this throat tickle.
No problem.
I forgot to bring my coffee with me. No, not excuse you. I should have thought about that before. I was sitting at the table, losing track of time on my phone, playing around and looking at videos, and all of a sudden I got your email that said, hey, listen, come on so we can check this out. I'm going, oh my gosh, it's like 10 to 6.
No problem.
So,
you're fine.
So at any rate,
so you're on hiatus, but really
I'm on hiatus, but I spoke to them and they said, well, we don't know what's happening right now. Then that was 2019. And at the end of 19 at Comic-Con in October, this one lady who was an editor up there, she came by my table and she said, hey, listen, I just want to tell you that the strip isn't dead yet. It's just still caught up in some, legal mumbo jumbo between Stan's estate and this and that. And once they clear that up, then we'll have a better idea as to what we're going to do. And I said, okay. And I figured, great. Well, we're ready, but I'm not losing any sleep over it. Right. So here we are. In 2020, I got no word, and that was pandemic time. And I didn't go to Comic-Con this year, so it's not like anybody, they have my contact information. If they wanted to give me an update, they could very easily do that.
I hope they untangle it, and I would think, given the fact that movies are coming out, that they'd want to do it. But, I have as I'm sure you, even as a writer, a creator that works in comic strips, I don't know what the state of comic strips are in terms of if it's still viable or not. As you said, the newspaper circulation dwindles.
Right.
The fact that they're doing Comics Kingdom, I think, is a really smart move. And I'm glad that they're doing it. But yeah, I have no idea.
Well, as you know, I mean, web comics are a great forum for people to get their artwork out. Absolutely. Whether, you have your own website, or I'm sure there's websites out there that just deal with such entities. Okay. You want to, figure just to get your work out, you can't get published in a book because nobody's publishing books. The big two, they've each got about a dozen guys that they employ under contract and some freelancers. And then there's everybody, to this day, I went to these conventions, Denver and Baltimore recently, and you still get those people that go, hey, what can you tell an aspiring young artist on, what to do in order to become a comic book artist? And I said, well, the first thing you should do is have a plan B, okay? Don't put all your eggs in that one basket. And quite honestly, I'm not the first one to say that, because Neil Adams predicted that so many years ago. He said, hey, guys, don't put all your eggs in one basket, because comics, is going to be here, but it's not going to be what you think it's going to be. And there's advertising and illustrations and video games and storyboards. But yet, even to this day, there are storyboard programs out there where an art director doesn't even have to hire the freelancer anymore and pay the rates. that a freelancer would command, okay, in the different markets. There's programs where you can just plug and play and take people and change their faces. You got maybe like 10, 12 different heads for a guy with different expressions depending upon what the captions are for the panel, okay? And so they eliminate the freelancers, just like they've been trying to eliminate inkers for so many years by saying, well, if you pencil super tight, add some gray tone. I see these guys, they're adding gray tones, and I'm thinking, do you get paid extra to do all that gray? You're practically painting the damn thing in black and in gray tones. Oh, no, this is what they require so that it makes it that this way we have more control of what the colorist is going to do, et cetera, et cetera. So I said, well, the colorist then has a piece of cake job because all he's doing is laying his colors on top of your tonalities, and it makes it look richer and lusher. And yeah, you're happy, but you're not getting paid any more money. Yeah. You know, I don't even think there's too many guys out there these days that draw one page a day. Because when you look at some of the stuff that they do, I mean, I look at Ivan Rice and Joe Prado doing the Justice League for all these years. And there's a million guys in every double page spread and on every page. And I'm thinking, gosh, they do this stuff religiously. They don't miss a deadline. I remember asking both those guys, do you guys sleep? I mean, how do you do this? I mean, it's insane. I mean, hey, look, I never worked with an assistant, so I don't know what the processes are of some of these guys who might have studios and they got help with backgrounds and doing, you know, the smaller figures and whatnot. I don't know, but I mean, they get the stuff out. You know, even guys like Brian Hitch, when he was doing Hawkman and he was doing the Fantastic Four and he was drawing Times Square and all the cars and this, and I'm going, every freaking month, you gotta be kidding me, you know?
I did talk to Hitch about it.
Yeah.
And he told me that he really refined his style to make it easier, because back when he was doing the Ultimates 20 years ago, it was tough for him to keep deadlines.
Okay.
But he's adjusted his style since. And hopefully he's been really busy, but I'm hoping I'll get him back, if not in November or December, at least in January, because he's become a good friend, and he likes to come on and talk process. So that's great. So
one of the things that I found out, if you're obviously computer savvy enough and if your computer is up to date, there's a program out there called SketchUp. Okay, I don't know if you've heard of it, but in SketchUp, from what I understand, you can create environments. You can basically want to start setting up a building and get the perspective points. Once you've created that building, okay, and every building is different, you can just kind of
zoom in,
basically import that stuff into your artwork.
Yes.
Okay, and you can rotate the camera. You get all this neat stuff. There's cars in there that you can just, you know, basically copy and paste, stick them in there. So when you see this duplication process of cars in traffic and they're going back down through the bridge or something, you're going, oh my God, you got to sit there and you got to draw all those cars. No, you don't. Okay.
That's great. Art Baltazar does that with his Tiny Titans books.
Okay.
He has pre-programmed backgrounds and stuff, the clubhouse and the Batcave.
Sure. I mean, why not? Like, I mean, quite honestly, when you think about it, those backgrounds don't differ. Okay. Just like if you watch a movie or you watch a television program, those backgrounds stay the same all the time. All right. So what's his name? David, I think it was David Mazzucchelli, when he first started drawing Daredevil. The first book he did took him like 5 or 6 weeks from when somebody, this is hearsay. I'm just giving you what I heard.
I love it.
And then he saved so many backgrounds that he had. So then the second book took him 4 weeks. And then the third book took him 2 weeks. And after a while, he was doing a book a week because he had all the backgrounds from Hell's Kitchen. Everything that he needed to import was always there. And, you know, even if he had certain close-ups that he did 4 issues ago, he'd pop those heads in there and whatever. And I'm still an advocate of drawing the figures and maybe adding a little personal touch to it. But having something like that to do backgrounds is invaluable because backgrounds take longer than the people.
I hear you, man. No, that's great. Eternitine has a question.
Okay.
Have you ever talked to Mike Manley about the Phantom?
We just... you know, on Facebook, or if I see him at a convention, just say hi and we talk about it a little bit. I think he's got some sort of a studio situation because, hey, Mike Manley draws the dailies. I think he still does Judge Parker on Sundays.
Oh, wow.
He always finds time to paint. He puts up these beautiful paintings, landscapes, and all kinds of stuff. The drawing for the day in the morning, he's warming up and putting some kind of a thing together. Actually, I envy those guys because, man, I don't do that. I guess maybe after almost 45 years doing what I do, if I have to do something, I sit down and I just kind of, loosen up a little bit, and then I go right to the paper.
So you don't do a warm-up sketch or anything like that before you?
No, I don't. And it shows. Okay. It shows. If I warmed up, I'd probably be better.
Stop. So,
hey, Tony Harris.
So
Tony Harris, very, very good artist. Okay, he was in Baltimore. He was in Baltimore sitting down.
Tony was in Baltimore and I missed him?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
No, I'm sorry, not Baltimore, Denver.
Oh,
Denver.
Okay. I was going to say, I feel, although I miss Mike Gold and I miss Mike Hawthorne at Baltimore. So, I mean, I'm not perfect.
I met Mike Hawthorne for the first time when I was eating breakfast. And he was sitting with Bob McLeod. And Bob goes, "Hey, Alex, this is Mike Hawthorne." And I said, "Oh, hi, how you doing?" Gee. And he's going, "Yeah, it's a great pleasure to meet you, et cetera, et cetera." And I'm thinking, wow, these guys know my stuff. I mean, quite honestly, I'm humbled, No,
but they're great artists, but they grew up reading your stuff, man. I mean, yeah, hey, listen, man, you're not chopped liver. You know that. Come on.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with chopped liver.
I'm a big fan. I hear you, man. I hear you. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I hope down in Florida you got some good delis. I mean, they can't compare to New York, but we got a couple decent joints still in Chicago.
This is a plug for this deli chain that's down here in Florida. It's called 2J's. And the first time I came across 2J's, it was next to a Coliseum of Comics store, okay? And so I'm at the store and I'm going, 2J's, gee, what's in there? Oh, wow, they got pastrami and they got Reubens and they got chopped liver and whitefish salad and all this stuff. And I'm going, wow, this is like I'm married to a Jewish woman and this is a Jewish husband's delight over here, okay? So I remember bringing home some chopped liver for my wife and it was excellent. And she said, "Oh my God, where'd you get this?" I said, "Hey, next time you want to come to 2J's, you got to take a ride to the comic book shop with me,
That's excellent, man. Right by Art Baltazar's store, about 10 minutes away. There's a great deli called Kaufman's in Skokie, Illinois.
Okay.
And beautiful, great place, excellent chopped liver, amazing chicken salad.
Oh, yeah.
So, that's my, you had me at hello and you got good chicken salad. So,
yeah. So, I mean, the holidays are coming up. So now we have, wow, my wife will be cooking all this cool stuff and very difficult to lose weight in the month of from Thanksgiving all the way until the middle of January, because after the regular Christmas holidays, since I'm Ukrainian by my father's nationality, we have Ukrainian Christmas and Ukrainian New Year's right after the regular ones, right?
So now December 6th or January 6th.
Yes, January 6th and then the 13th.
Yeah, the Eastern Orthodox, they celebrate Christmas the week after Christmas. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, all of a sudden the pierogies are flying and the whole 9 yards. I remember talking to Joe Jusko about this one place in New York City. When I lived on East 6th Street, when I was a little kid, up until I was 6 years old, between First Avenue and Avenue A, there was a Ukrainian restaurant called Leshko's. Okay. And boy, back in the day, you'd go in there and you'd get 7 or 8 pierogies on a plate with caramelized onions and like these. I don't know if you take like, when you grill a steak and you get that little fat rind that gets all crispy.
Oh yeah.
They had these crispies that they put on top of the pierogies with the caramelized onions. Wow. I mean, prices are relative, but at that time, a plate of pierogies was like 70 cents. So sometimes, but now let's say a man's salary could be $50 a week. So,
right.
And a quart of milk was, I don't know, a quarter or something like that,
I'm with you, man.
Wow, what a treat that was. And Joe knew about that place.
That's excellent.
And then there was a couple of great delis we had. My dad used to go to Katz's Deli in downtown New York.
Sure.
And he'd bring home a pastrami sandwich that was about this thick on 2 pieces of rye bread.
Oh, yeah.
And you could feed a family of 4 with that. Just break it up,
I know, man. And that is the great thing about going to New York. You're right. You get these like ridiculously stacked sandwiches.
They have a toothpick that's about 6 inches long so they could stick it in there and hold the darn thing together,
Hilarious. You're killing me, man. That's awesome. All right, I'm going to reach back because everyone knows, I got this sketch card of
Yes.
Crimson Avenger. One of my favorite stories you ever did. You did these amazing backup features. Were they in Showcase or Secret Origins?
No, the backup features were in DC Presents.
Okay, DC Presents, because then, as you see here from this splash panel, I guess, because it was only 8 pages.
I know they were all 8 pages, right?
Yeah, and they would be like I went to a blog and they had your Rip Hunter story as well as your Crimson Avenger.
Right. I think the Rip Hunter the Crimson Avenger was written by Len Wein, the only time that we worked together, and
really?
then I think the Rip Hunter was done by Mike Tiefenbacher, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Okay, that's a great looking dog. What's your dog's name?
Oh, dog's name is Snoopy.
Hi, Snoopy. Could you be cuter? Adorable.
Snoopy loves coffee. Okay.
That's good.
I think he knows. He's not stupid. He knows that 9 times out of 10 when I sit here, there should be a cup of coffee on the desk with me. And so he probably figured, I could use a little coffee fix. So let me go see Dad and I'll get on his lap and, he'll stay here about 5 minutes and then he'll want to go back to his own business.
Coffee's safe for dogs? It's okay?
It's not okay. But no, here's the thing. If I drink the coffee, then all of a sudden he looks at me and he'll lick my lips. Okay. Sure. All right. Because he's of all the dogs I've ever had. Oh, look at him. He's like, hey, the camera's on.
Yeah, man. He's enjoying this. That's good.
Yeah, he's checking it out. He's going a little shifty-eyed. So at any rate, he's not a typical dog that jumps on the bed and starts kissing you up like most dogs do when you're trying to still sleep and whatnot. When you come home, he'll bark at you, and then you'll get 1 kiss on the nose. That's all you get. So if he wants to give me a couple of kisses, well, then he has to lick my lips to get the flavor of the coffee, But no, we don't. I don't give him coffee per se because, hey, it's just weird. There's just so many things that aren't good for dogs. Like just the other day, I'm eating pecans, right out of a bag, and my daughter's over and she goes, you're not supposed to give the dog pecans. I said, really? Because I had given him like 1 or 2 pieces, and she looks it up on Google. She goes, yeah, pecans are very bad for the dog. I said, damn, I didn't know that.
Yeah, now, it's hard for them to digest the nuts and everything.
And something about the pecans may have certain toxins in them that are bad for the dogs.
Always that stuff. Yeah.
So then why am I eating it?
No, I understand, man. No, and obviously chocolate's terrible for dogs.
Oh, yeah, right.
But here, I want to show more art from the Crimson Avenger. I love this.
I gave that page to Len Wein.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I don't know if I was just trying to butter him up a little bit, but I enjoyed working with him on that. I mean, look at that page again. If you could pull it up, look what's on here.
Bring it up.
I mean, we got like all these Golden Age guys here in a little panel, tiny guys, and we got Power Girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Fate, Elongated Man.
So much in this one page. Absolutely, man.
Yeah. So
unbelievable.
Yeah, that was and I think that story even won some sort of a little industry award, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. I don't remember the specific one either. And here's the Crimson Avengers final moments.
I know.
And I truly, man, I love the emotion that you put on his face. And he was, I mean, in that first panel that I showed earlier, he gets the diagnosis that he's only got a week to live. So he goes, he finds out about this boat fire and manages to save this boat. And, there's just that beautiful emotion on his face. Well, at least I get one more time, Now
look in the middle panel there. You see that piece of debris or whatever flying out with the flames from the boat?
Yeah. Yeah,
that piece. If you have that piece and you want to auction it off at Heritage or eBay, you could make a lot of money. I'm only kidding.
Go ahead.
There's a show on HBO right now called 30 Coins. It's a horror thing. It's about 8 episodes, filmed in Spain in Spanish.
Oh, I love those. Go on.
And you got to read the American subtitles.
Sure.
But it's based on the fact that when Judas had betrayed Christ, the soldiers gave him 30 pieces of silver.
That's right.
And then what happens was, because now somehow they linked him to the devil because he did this evil deed, the 30 pieces of coins are supernaturally linked to the devil. And there's this faction, that is like devil worshippers that want to get all those 30 coins together, because once they have them, they can just destroy the entire world and have their acolytes running all over the place. And it's a wild series. Wow. 30 coins on HBO.
That's great to hear, because truly I am always excited about their international imports, or in some cases it is HBO in Spain or Italy or wherever that are producing these shows. I used to love the lawyer show they had, Christ, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, called Mandrake. And it was just this really intense lawyer show. That was an import. I believe it was from Spain. And it was so great. And there was a great drama about like women friends, and my beautiful cousin, my beautiful friend. I can't remember what the title was, but it was beautifully shot and really well acted. And if I have the patience to read the subtitles, I really do appreciate a lot of foreign product. I think there's a lot of great stuff. Certainly, as I'm sure you know, Korean filmmaking is really finally getting the credit that it's due beyond horror and just in general. I mean, we saw it at the Oscars this past year.
So. That's right. That's right. And, the thing is, 30 coins, the cinematography is good, really good, great lighting, the whole 9 yards. And it's the type of thing where I'm tempted to rewatch it, because now that I know the story, I can look at the screen a little bit longer to process a little bit more, because when you're reading those subtitles and they're talking really fast in Spanish, your eyes are just, they're darting up and down, because you want to see it, you want to read it. And they only give you that split couple of seconds to read what's on the bottom anyway. You don't want to lose anything. But like I said, it's I finally convinced my brother to watch it, and he's on the phone with me yesterday. He goes, "Hey, thanks a lot." I said, "What's the matter?" He goes, "You made me watch that show, 30 Coins. That thing was freaking me out." I said, "I didn't make you watch anything. I just told you I thought it was really good."
That's
he
cool.
Goes, I watched the first 2 episodes, and God, is it crazy? I said, well, there you go. So that's going to make you watch the rest of it. Yeah.
More interesting questions. Steve Commander first.
Okay.
Can you relate how Len Wein came up for the new design for Airwave that you drew in Who's Who?
To be honest with you, Stephen, I never found out why. I just remember I did the Airwave page in Who's Who, went into Julie Schwartz's office, and he says, "Okay, here's the new costume for Airwave." I said, "Really? He needs a new costume?" Well, just to kind of modernize things up, Len Wein came up with this idea, so we're going to use that. And of course, in flashbacks scenes, there'll be the old costume, etc. But that's what he's going to look like. And I can't remember how many stories they actually drew or used that new costume after it kind of came out.
I want to look it up, because I'm assuming it's different from when Airwave would show up in backups of the Superman series.
Yeah, I mean, Airwave was green and yellow.
Right.
And I think he might have had a touch of red in there in his belt or something like that. The new costume was, I think, purple and yellow.
Well, I'm going to have to look it up. Yeah, I'm interested.
I don't think he even had a cape, if I'm not mistaken. They took the cape away.
Okay.
And so they just changed the whole thing.
How many Who's Who's did you end up drawing?
Oh, gosh, maybe about, no, I could probably count them in my hand. I remember I did a Automan from, I think I did this story, Whatever Happened to Star Hawkins. I think Mike Tiefenbacher wrote that also, and there was this robot in there called Automan, and so I did that Who's Who. I did one for the Freedom Fighters. I did one for Whatever Happened to Prince Ramen, Mike Merlin, I think that was his name.
Okay.
Yes, I did that. And they also did the Calculator, a villain that Bob Rozakis had created for the Atom. I did the Airwave one, so we're looking at 5. There might be one more that escapes me at the moment, but maybe it was 5 or 6. Yeah.
The Calculator got his secret identity got named, and he's Noah Cutter. And Brad Meltzer named his secret identity after his, I believe he's his brother-in-law. He's another Word Balloon listener and watcher.
Oh,
but like that's his secret little thing that he's like, yeah, Brad gave him a civilian identity and he made me the Calculator. I'm like, that's great, man. He's an IBM guy. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Here, Wayne wants to know, were there any creators that you wished you could have worked with but didn't have the chance?
Yes, I wish I could have worked with Wally Wood. Um, he would have changed everything that I drew, and it would look like a Wally Wood piece. But I wouldn't care because my name would be on it, and so would his.
That's
I
awesome.
really would have enjoyed having Bill Sienkiewicz do the same thing to my work.
Interesting.
That would have been cool. I'm trying to think. I did work with Tony DiZuniga, which was great, only on one job. Whatever, it was Superman and the Metal Men in DC
Oh,
Presents.
fun.
Yeah, and so that was good. And then I'm trying to think. I would have loved to have even though Jose Luis Garcia Lopez is a penciler and inker. I mean, I would have loved to have him ink one of my stories just because then he could have fixed everything that I did wrong. You know.
I understand. That's awesome, man. Here, Stephen Commander wants to know, can you share what it was about for those who may not have heard of it? I loved your Golden Age Kid Flash.
Oh, well, to be honest with you, Stephen, I don't recall drawing a Golden Age Kid Flash, but I did draw the one where he's in a half yellow, half red costume with his hair flailing around on top.
Yeah,
and
the
I did
weird
a couple
cowl
of,
that had the opening.
yeah, right. I call it the Flash Gordon look, because Flash had that weird cowl, which made absolutely no
Yes.
sense.
Yes.
It just, it covered his ears, covered his forehead, and was a chin strap, and all it did was kind of look neat. That's about it. But Kid Flash, I think I ended up doing about maybe I want to say about 4 Kid Flash stories. And then I also did a backup Flash story in the Flash. Also, something about the origin of the Flash's ring with the costume coming out. That was kind of neat.
I think what Stephen is referring to, and I'm so glad he brought it up because I forgot that you were the artist on this. But when Bob Rozakis did the alternate history of what if instead of the All-American properties going to National, if the National properties went to All-American, and he did that secret history of All-American comics. And I think maybe for the art for that, were you the artist for that?
No, I wasn't. I didn't. When I worked with Bob on that thing, I had sort of a Batman that was a pseudo Batman Green Lantern. There was no Flash at all in what I was drawing.
Maybe someone else. Maybe someone else drew the Flash parts because Green Lantern and Flash were the Batman and Superman of this alternate history. And if anything, Superman and Batman were kind of lesser heroes in this, like, what if, things went this way instead of the real way things went. No, that's like one of my favorite things that Bob did in the past. I gotta bug you for Bob's contact info. I met him. And just like you getting a nice compliment, he was sitting next to Howard Chaykin a couple years ago at Terrificon in Connecticut. And I introduced myself, and I nobody needs to know who the fuck I am. I mean, it's fine. It's fine. It's the truth, man. I mean, seriously, even though I've been doing it for 16 years, not everyone knows, and certainly not some of the old guard like Bob. So I introduced myself, and I'm like, I've got a podcast, blah, blah, blah. And God bless Howard. Howard's like, Bob, talk to John. John knows what he's doing. He's like, oh, okay. So I'm like, thank you, Howard. That was great.
Yeah.
So, sometimes you need to hear from a peer, And Coverberg has always been nice that way and recommended me to other peers as well. So, I've lucked out. But yeah, that's what Stephen was, I think, referring to. And maybe he was thinking, was there a Kid Lantern sidekick to Green Lantern?
I don't recall that at all. Okay. It might have been. I basically just kind of concentrated my efforts on coming up with this Batman Green Lantern design, which they ended up using in the book or in that particular feature, and that's about all I know.
Understood. All right, JD is correcting me that my observation regarding Mandrake, the HBO series, was a Brazilian series. Thank you very much, JD. I appreciate that. Yeah, man. No, that hilarious. I love what we're talking about. Now, we've talked briefly about it before, but I do want to bring up your collaborations with Will Eisner. And in particular, didn't tell me like how much stuff you did with Will back in the day. Here's a great spirit that you did.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, 05, unfortunately, that was the year that he passed away in January.
Yeah.
And let's see, I would say I had one semi-contribute collaboration, which was when I was going to School of Visual Arts in New York, and I was in his class. And his class was responsible for putting together a magazine that was printed by the school. It was called Gallery, Will Eisner's Gallery. And every student got to do anywhere from a 1-page to a 4-page story inside that black and white magazine.
Cool.
Okay. And when it came down to it, he always would draw the cover, and he asked me if I'd want to do the backgrounds on his cover. So I said, wow, I said, hey, if I do the backgrounds, do you think I can keep the cover? And he looked up at me, and he just did a little twinkle in his eye as if to say, yeah, I don't think so, Jack. But at any rate, I probably should have pressed him a little harder, because there's another friend / colleague of mine named Mark Sparacio, who was in that class maybe, 5-10 years later. And he goes, oh, yeah, I did the backgrounds with Will, and he gave me the cover. I said, what? He must have really softened up as he was getting older, because I asked, I got nothing. Hilarious. Now, then go forward to November of 2004. Actually, yeah. So look back 17 years ago this month. And hey, you know what? I remember I didn't have a cell phone yet, because otherwise my wife would have called me. I remember being out and running some errands, coming back home at about 3:30, and she says, hey, I don't know what's going on, but Will Eisner called you 3 times. He needs you to call him before 4 o'clock. I said, oh, well, I got time. So yeah, let me get on the phone. So I called him up, and he says, hey, how you doing? Hey, I got so much work on my drawing table. He says, I'm doing this project for Dark Horse Comics, and it's only 6 pages, but I could use somebody to take my layouts and just, translate them, blow them up, put them on a light box on a white paper, 11 by 17. The layouts are 8.5 by 11. And I was thinking, if you had some time, it would be a great help for me. I said, sure, Will, no problem. Well, no problem. He goes, and I'll make sure that you get like a regular penciling rate from Dark Horse. And I said, well, gee, Will, thanks very much. I really appreciate that. And he goes, and I'll make sure that you get a credit also. I said, well, thanks again, Will. I said, hey, by the way, what are we doing? He says, it's The Spirit Meets the Escapist. And that was the story that I remember he said he was arguing with the editor, because she said, hey, look, if he's only your assistant, why does he need a credit? He goes, oh, no. He's doing more than just assisting. He's taking these scribbles that I'm sending him, and he's translating it, putting it on paper, penciling. I can go in there. And he said, it's not a typical penciler-inker relationship, but I will, change things up as I see it now that it's clear. And then I'll go ahead and ink it and put a wash on it and everything. And I said, okay, well, that sounds great. And unfortunately, when I finished it and turned it in, I understand that within a day or two after that, he ended up in the hospital. He was 87 and eventually needing quadruple bypass, which, and I think he was in the hospital for a couple of weeks. And I remember talking to Dennis Kitchen just to find out how he was doing. And then it said, oh, well, he should be coming home. I might have spoken to him on a Saturday. And I think he said he should be coming home Monday or Tuesday. And I said, so how's he doing? Will, he's flirting with the nurses and he's having a great time, etc. Yes, The Escapist by Michael Chabon. That's it. And so at any rate, so I left it with Dennis Kitchen, and then I hear a couple of days later that he passed away. He in his sleep, whatever valve they had to put in or multiple valves they didn't take, and he just, I guess, bled out while he was sleeping. So he had at least a peaceful time of it. But I mean, at 87, it was unfortunate because he sent me this letter before he went into the hospital. Obviously, it's a small letter, maybe 5 by 7 or something like that, like a digest size letter, and had some, his address and stuff, headings on the top. And he goes, hey, I really enjoyed working with you. And, if you have some more time next year, I've got a whole bunch of projects, graphic novels that I want to get done, and maybe we could collaborate again the same way. It would be a big help for me because I got so many things I want to get off the ground. And, he signed it, best wishes, Will Eisner. I still have that letter, but, obviously we never had the opportunity to work together again.
That's too bad. And it's funny. I just talked to Max Collins, and he's been doing a lot of unfinished work that Mickey Spillane had for his estate. And that's a shame. I guess maybe the stuff that Will had planned wasn't enough of a plot or anything like that you and Dennis couldn't work out something, because really, my God, that escapist spirit story, you really nailed it. And I mean, again, I think one of your strengths is the ability to, emulate a style and everything. And you just really had the spirit style down. And it would be great to see you do other Eisner projects. I mean, again, here's you doing the spirit.
I know that DC had, basically revived the spirit. Also had a whole bunch of guys working on it. And, it was fun to see. But, when I look at those, I go, wow, would have been cool to at least have them call me up and have me do one. But they were not aware of what I had done with Will, even though way back when I got into comics at DC and I let people know, yeah, Will Eisner was my, teacher and mentor, etc. It is what it is. So unfortunately, that's occasionally I'll get somebody asking me for a spirit commission. And when I say occasionally, it's really occasionally. Although sure. I did have the pleasure of J.C. Vaughn had, Overstreet. Yeah. He had some kind of a spirit thing going where they found a layout from Will Eisner with the spirit's head and then 3 of his femme fatales in the foreground. One of them was Commissioner Dolan's daughter,
sure,
the doting girlfriend, right?
Ellen. And Sans Serif, I would imagine, is in there.
Yeah, Sans Serif, yeah. And another one who I think had a whip or something like that or whatever. I can't remember her name, but there were 4 of us that took turns, and I think he had 4 variant covers.
Wow!
And so I got to draw this spirit cover. I don't have a link, but I'll have to show it to you in terms. Also,
I'd love to see it, Alex. Absolutely, my God.
And I also have I still have the original layouts that Will Eisner did. I have my pencils that I did from his layouts, and then the finishes, so that if you look at those 3 side by side, you could just see how things progressed. Where, gosh, on page 2, page 1 was was pretty much verbatim for what I ended up doing, and Will stuck with it. And then page 2, there was this big panel with some fight scenes going on and guys flying and getting punched. And I interpreted it as well as I possibly could. But then afterwards, when he saw it, you could see how he had taken what I had done, because all I did was translate what he gave me. And even though some of the things might have had some tangents running here and there, I wanted to give him back what he gave me. I didn't want to edit it. You know what I'm saying? And 100%. So then it was up to him, though, to look at it and go, oh, I got to fix this up. And so he edited certain things here and there and made it look really, really beautifully, compositions and stuff. And it turned out really well. And
100%, man. No,
it was a great job. It was a fun thing to do.
Well, and it's cool. And I remember when you did it, you kind of let a couple of us know on the down low that you helped him with that final bit, because much like Joe Kubert, people saw that final story and it's like, man, he still got it even at 87. It was cool, and I'm sure he did still have it, but it was great that you were able to help him make it happen and stuff. Wayne's like, those pages could be put together as a process artist edition. That's a great idea, boy, man. We should call Dennis Kitchen, and that would be cool, and JC, and see if he's got the rest of the art to make that kind of collection or whatever. That'd be great. JC Vaughn. Yeah, go ahead.
If you're going to put a book together, I mean, the Escapist story was only 6 pages. So
right.
You got 6 layouts, 6 pencils, and 6 finishes. That's only 18 pages. And then, what kind of a book, you got to get more stuff together.
Yeah, you got to. Yeah, Dennis would have to kind of organize more stuff. But I'm guessing he probably has other original pages that they could make a nice kind of Spirit Giant size artist edition collection if they
Or if they don't do that, I mean, I know Tomorrow's publishes stuff that's unpublished or
oh
process
yeah
type things.
yeah
I had done a story for Julie Schwartz, way back when, before it was called Colonel, I think it was called Colonel Lightning. And it was in Action Comics. It was supposed to end up being a Superman story. I drew the first 12 pages. It was written by Elliot
sure
S. Magan. And as it turns out, after I turned in those 12 pages, and the character looked exactly like Captain Marvel. I mean, I didn't make him, I mean, I kind of took what CC Beck did and turned it into my own. But you know, the main villain with the goggle lenses and all that stuff was in there, and Clark Kent obviously was in there. And so the first 12 pages were done. I turned them in, and Julie says, "Okay, we're going to have to table this story because they're bringing back Captain Marvel, and so this would be too close to the you know the re-debut of Captain
sure
Marvel coming out in a couple of months." So that story never saw print. But
wow.
But the guys from Tomorrow's got in touch with me and they said, "Hey, we'd like to. Do you have those pages?" I said, "Sure." I said, "You know, I'll send you all 12, you know, via email." And they said, "Yeah, DC would only let them reprint like I think 4, and they couldn't be in consecutive order." I said, "What the heck is that all about?" Didn't make any sense to me
No,
whatsoever.
because they're not going to do anything with the pages.
Yeah,
And why not I mean, God, I know that's been one of the great things about Tomorrow's is finding these unpublished stories,
right,
inventory stories, and other
right.
things that both the big two would have. And yeah, man, they're thrilling. God, I've seen both Gil Kane and Jack Kirby's Prisoner
Yes, I have
pages.
that book. That's a cool book. Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that. So that makes no sense why, especially something as interesting as a Captain Marvel knockoff, you know,
Right.
to kind of no, that's really cool. Was do you know was the color scheme going to be red and yellow like Captain
It
Marvel
sure
had?
was. No, I think it
Funny
was actually. I think his name was Colonel Thunder
or
because
pardon
instead of saying Shazam, the kid said Thunder, and they had everything like I don't know all the powers from
sure.
THUNDR. It was really cool.
Well, I do remember prior to them bringing Shazam back that they had some sort of character that just like that screamed something like thunder. And I don't remember what his name was. He had a sunburst as opposed to the lightning bolt on his chest, but he was red and yellow. He
Right.
very much looked like a Fred McMurray type, but a little beefier. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it was clearly a Captain Marvel knockoff. And that's no, you love shit like that. Or even Captain Strong that clearly was Popeye. I remember
Yes.
from the Bronze Age of Superman and stuff. That Bronze Age Superman stuff really gets dismissed, and it's like, man, you guys don't know what you were missing because it really. I mean, even at well, first of all, when it was still the Planet, that was great. But even at GBS TV, they had that newsroom and Steve Lombard and Lois and
Right.
Clark, and it really was that great Greek chorus of civilian characters, and they were just a pleasure to read. I have one Kurt Swan Tex Blaisdell page.
Ah. Okay.
One year for my birthday, I treated myself, and I found it on eBay at like only $100, and I'm like, I got to have a Kurt Swan page, and it mostly was the Lois and Clark scene. That's fine. I just wanted
Yeah.
Kurt Swan's art on
Yeah. I
my
have
wall at
one
some
page
point.
of Kurt Swan with ink by Murphy Anderson, so that's really a cool looking page.
That's
I have
excellent.
very little original artwork, and I was never really a collector.
Okay.
I think I have a John Buscema, Tony DiZuniga Thor page.
Wow.
Somehow that came into my lap, and I have that, like I said, the Murphy Anderson page. Gosh, I had a Nick Cardy Batman page once,
Wow.
and stupidly, I sold it for and a ridiculous amount. I'm not going to say when I refer to ungodly, that means the numbers are really high. When I say ridiculous, it means it was really low. And then I saw it. I think I saw that same page in a heritage auction for probably about 20 times what I sold it initially for. Right?
Well, can you give us a hint of what you might put up for sale with comic art fans this weekend?
Well, I'll have some Sunday strips, and I'm going to have some daily strips. And now that you reminded me about that, selling stuff, I've got a portfolio here. I got pages, individual pages, that kind of stuff. If anybody wants, I don't have any commissions done per se, although I just posted a commission on eBay, not eBay, for one that I just did for a fan. It's a.
I'm going to zoom in on you, Alex. Hang on. Boom.
Yeah, it's a Punisher.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. Fantastic. Look at that. See, this is what I'm talking about, everybody. This is
if somebody, if I show somebody something like this and say, hey, listen, this is what you can get. Here, this is interesting. This is a cover that is going to appear on, I think, in Overstreet, dealing with Jim Shooter's new universe.
Oh, wow.
The Star Brand.
Sure.
Yeah.
I was wondering who that was. Absolutely, Star Brand. That's the Star Brand. That's amazing.
Don't show that to anybody. I don't know if I was supposed to show it. No, I'm only kidding.
Don't worry about it. Nobody.
I'm sure it's out there.
Everyone who saw that, just turn away.
Yeah, please wipe it out from your eyes. In the Man with the X-Ray Eyes with Ray Milland, 1961, the end scene, he's in that tent with the preacher, and he goes, "If thine eyes offend thee, pluck it out."
I love it. Roger Corman movie, fantastic movie.
Yeah.
You're killing me, man. That's fantastic.
Certain things, certain quotations and things somehow just, they just kind of stay with you.
Oh,
you can't, they just, you're forever,
Absolutely, man. Do you have Turner Classic Movies on your package?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Have you noticed that they really are leaning more towards 50s and 60s movies the last couple months? I don't know.
To be honest with you, I can't agree with you because I haven't watched any. My TV time, I say, is limited, just nighttime stuff. And by the time I finish watching certain things with my wife that are either good or bad, we finish up with like a couple of episodes of the British Bake-Off show.
We discussed this at breakfast in Baltimore, and I got hooked as well. Fantastic. Absolutely. I've never made I can't think of a thing that they talk about, but also, isn't it fantastic how the Brits really, from 4-year-olds to senior citizens, the command of the language is just so superior to us knuckleheads here in the States and stuff.
Oh, it's more evident with the little kids. Yes. Oh, yes, thank you very much, sir. That's quite a brilliant observation that you just made about my papa. How old is this kid? Well, I'm 4. Oh, okay, great.
Absolutely, man. They could put us to shame writing a letter or writing a novel, for God's sake.
Oh, wow. It's incredible. Yeah, in the meantime, the mother comes out and she goes, "Oh, is that my son, Billy? Oh, the nanny's been working with him, and we haven't seen him in at least 3 months."
No, but
and they all have proper manners. Everything's respectful. If put it this way, if you were disrespectful in any way, they throw you into a dungeon or disown you or something like that because you're shaming the family tradition or whatever it is. Yeah, everything is respect there. So
you're killing me, Alex. That's awesome. And Eternity lets us know that the Man with the X-Ray Eyes was scary to me. I always associated that film with the X-Men Cyclops. Sure. I'm sure that was Stan's inspiration for Cyclops.
It could be. It could be. Put it this way. The other thing is that, before Cyclops, that was 1963. I'm trying to remember when Dr. Solar came out for Gold Key because he had the visor. He had a visor, and he also had beams that shot out. So
that's right.
It could have been right before or right in. I don't know. Couldn't tell you.
I think you're right. Yeah. Have you ever drawn those characters?
The Valiant guys? No.
Yeah. No. That's interesting.
No, but going back to the Phantom.
Yeah.
This is the way I do these interviews. I started something about 45 minutes ago, and now I'm going to say, yes, my experience with the Phantom. So I'm on the train with Milt Snap and the letterer, and he says to me, "Hey, is DC keeping you busy?" And I said, "Yeah, really, quite a bit." I said, "Why?" He goes, "Well, Cy Barry is looking for an assistant to help him on the Phantom strip. And I thought of you because, you've got a kind of a clean style. And I told Cy about you, and he'd love to meet you. And I said, Milt, I'm working on 2 books now. I would not have the energy to be able to work with Cy, even as an assistant. I'd be cheating myself. I'd be cheating Cy. I'd be cheating the editors. I got to, stick to what I'm doing. But, please tell him, thanks so much for, entertaining the idea of having me come and meet him just to work with him. So that never happened. But then when I got to Marvel in 1986, there was this cartoon out called The Defenders of the Earth. And that included the Phantom and Flash Gordon, Mandrake the Magician, Lothar.
Yep.
And of course, since it was a cartoon, there were the kids and the mascots and the animals. But I got to draw the Phantom. Okay. And what's interesting too is that book was inked by Fred Fredericks, who used to draw the Mandrake strip in the newspaper. Yeah, that was kind of cool.
Absolutely.
So at any rate, unfortunately that book only lasted 4 issues and was canceled. But again, talking about unpublished stuff, there was a 5th issue that we did, Fred and I together. And I remember penciling the whole thing. And what was incredible about it was that I had gotten the plot for the first 6 pages, and then I got a paragraph for the rest of the story with some key points. And the editor said, well, you're a great storyteller. You can take this and turn it into the next, 18 pages. And I said, what? Because the issue before that, they needed an Origin of Mandrake plot. And I said, well, you know what? I saw the Origin of Mandrake on the cartoon. I said, I could just plot that for you. And he goes, oh, okay, great. So I did it. And because I basically got the germ of the idea from a cartoon strip and I penciled out the Origin of Mandrake in 2 pages, now they want me to do 18 or 19 pages for the rest of this story. And I did it. I penciled it. I had all the notes in the margins and the whole 9 yards, telling them what's going on. And it was a daunting task. Believe me, it slowed me up tremendously. I didn't get obviously, since it was never published, I couldn't get a credit. So as co-plotter. And I thought that Fred had only inked the first 6 pages and it was never dialogued. So then about, I'm going to say, half a dozen years ago, all of a sudden I get this FedEx box in the mail. And I'm going, wow, from Marvel, what the heck is this? And I look in, and there's this 25-page story that I had drawn, inked by Fred Fredericks, and they sent me back all the artwork. And I said, how about that? So that has never seen the light of day. And then there was also a Web of Spider-Man story that I had done as an inventory thing because they used to do that.
Sure.
And they never published that either. It was what if, somebody else, who wasn't bitten by a spider became Spider-Man or something like that. And so it was just a regular guy. And that was penciled, but it was never inked, never written per se. And we even did the cover, and the cover was inked by John Romita, Sr.
Wow. Senior.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I got the pencils, and I got the original cover that John Sr. had inked.
Would you now, and again, don't get me wrong, Alex, I want you to keep what you want to keep, but would you ever put any of that stuff up for sale?
Well, the key word in your question was ever.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Ever
not right now, obviously.
Not right now. I'm waiting for I'm waiting for the Sheikh of Dubai to get in touch with me because he'll say, "Do you have any pages inked by John Romita?" Yeah, I got like 4 covers. I will give you $250,000 for each of those covers. Please come to Dubai and deliver them personally.
Here's hoping, Alex. Absolutely, man. My God. And I'm blanking on his name right now, but the guy, there's a great chain of comic book stores here in Chicago, Moonstone Books.
Yes, Joe Gentile.
Joe, yeah, and I'm not Moonstone, but yes, Joe's an amazing publisher and comic retailer. Moondog, from the 80s and 90s, that store, and I think his name is Larry. He has the original. I just sold it. The original ash can that had the Action Comics logo. It didn't have it was black and white, and it was just made to have the trademark there for when they were ready to do Action Comics. And it has like a pirate with a dagger in his hand or whatever, and he sold it for $100,000. because it's this like rarer than rare. You
Right.
know, who knows how many, if there was even a few dozen or 50 or 100 made. I have no idea. But it was so amazing and still kept it for a really long time. And he's like, yeah, it's time. And it's like, good for you, man. And he made a nice 6 figures. That's going to serve him well for the next couple of years. So that's kind of cool.
Definitely. So then after the Defenders of the Earth, that was 1986, 87.
Yeah, keep the story going. Yeah, please.
Yeah, and so in 87, I started drawing Spider-Man. But as far as the Phantom goes, I go further up ahead to 2003. And I really wasn't doing much of anything in comics at that time except the Sunday strip, and I started inking the dailies. And I found out that some of the guys like Paul Ryan, the late Paul Ryan, Dick Giordano, the late Dick Giordano, the very much alive Bob McLeod, they were working on the Phantom for this Swedish company. Now, be that as it may, as a freelancer, I'm not going to get in touch with those guys and say, hey, listen, can you give me the address so I can get in touch with this guy? Because I want to go ahead and work for them too. I mean, hey, it's freelance. Everybody's doing their own thing.
100%.
However, I found out somehow through some grapevine that there were some Phantom fan clubs out there. And there was this, fan club out there. And I got in touch with them. And the guy says, oh, I'll get you in touch with the editor. Sure. So that's what happened. Wow. I think it was the end of 2003, Christmas week. I put together some samples and I emailed it out to the editor. And within a couple of days, he got back to me and says, hey, we'd love to have you. We're going to send you a script early next year. And that was the deal. They had been publishing the Phantom also for about 50 years. Every 2 weeks, they had a stable of European artists, some South American guys. And so, yes, they would, again, produce maybe 18 stories a year, something like that, okay? And so I got to do one. Basically, I did one a year for a couple of 3 years in a row. Then there was a bit of a hiatus. Then I started up again doing one story. So I would do one story a year. And just recently, there was an editorial shift again, and I hadn't drawn a Phantom story probably in about 3 years. Got in touch with the new guys, and they just said, yes, we have a script for you. We're waiting for King Features to approve certain things. Now they want to approve the script. They also want to approve the look of them as supporting characters. So they sent me some reference on these characters, and I just got a letter from the guy. Hey, we're looking forward to seeing your, character sketches, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, so I haven't had even a chance to email them back because I just saw it a little while ago.
Okay.
And there was some other company out there in Europe that wanted to, he said they wanted to buy the cover art to one of your covers. And I'm thinking, they want to buy original art. As it turns out, what they do, no, they wanted to buy the right to reprint a particular cover. Okay. And although it's in Kronen, which is like, let's say 400 Kronen is all they could pay, that's probably like $28, something like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's not a lot. I'm pretty sure.
I understand. It's like Italian currency. I understand. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll have to look it up on Google. As a matter of fact, if you while we're talking, I'm just really curious right now because I want to see how much 400 Kronen is
in US dollars
to American dollars. Kronen to USD.
It's $4.50.
Oh. 1 Norwegian krone is 12 cents. So 400 is $47. Hey,
$47. Fantastic.
Hey, listen, you want to reprint something of mine for $47? I can go out to dinner for that with my wife. I'm good. Okay.
That's amazing. Wow. And isn't it amazing, Alex, that King Features, I can't believe they don't have an American outlet for Phantom Comics. Maybe they do, and I'm just not aware of it.
Well, I think the first guys that were doing it back in the 50s were, I think, Harvey Hits Comics. All right? And they were just reprinting newspaper stuff.
Sure.
And I think they had something like 24 issues, but they all just kept reprinting newspaper features. And that's aside from the fact that I would see the Phantom in the newspaper in the Journal American in New York. Sure. When these comics came out, I said, oh, this is cool. And because I didn't know they were reprints, I thought it was new stuff.
Sure.
I'm a little kid. I thought it was new art. And then in the early 60s, I think it was 61 or 62, Gold Key started coming out with original material drawn by Bill Lignante, who had a turn of filling in on the strip before Cy Barry got it. And I think to the day that he passed away, he still couldn't figure out why he couldn't continue on the strip. And, he was doing it for I don't know how many months. And they said, okay, well, we finally got our regular guy. And he goes, what are you talking about? I thought I was the regular guy. Oh, no. We told you it was a fill-in. We got the guy now that we want. And it turned out to be Cy Barry. But anyway, Bill Lignante went on to draw the Gold Key comics for, I guess, 4 years. And I say 4 years because he drew, I want to say, well, maybe 5 years. I think he drew like 20 issues, but initially Gold Key comics they were quarterlies.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. 32 pages, no ads, quarterly, penciled and inked. And there was always this beautiful George Wilson cover where on the front was the cover with the logo, on the back it was just the painting. No logo, no.
Wow.
It was gorgeous stuff. So, I mean, when those comics came out, I just gobbled them up, right? And so at any rate, so then you had Gold Key, and then King Comics took over, which I don't know what they were an offshoot of. And then eventually—
I'm assuming King Features, because the Flash Gordon King comics.
Right. Well, yeah, there was some couple of nice Al Williamson comics.
Absolutely.
Flash Gordon. Oh, yeah. Beautiful stuff.
Yep.
And then I think DC got a hold of it. They had it for a year. Luke McDonald was the artist. Then Charlton had it for a long time. Okay. And then at the end of the run, I think there were about 6 or 7 issues that were drawn by Don Newton before he went to DC and was drawing Batman and all that stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, that was his big break, to finally get to DC and draw Batman. And he
great Batman artist, great Phantom artist too, as well.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, I think about Don Newton. I think he'd be in his late 70s or 80s right now. But I mean, he died at, I think, 40 something from a heart attack.
Wow. From what?
Heart attack.
Oh wow. Wow.
Yeah.
It's like
he was a teacher. He was a teacher, and he would, on his lunch hours and stuff, he would sit there and draw a page. He was that good. And just loved the medium, loved being an artist, loved telling stories. And so, even when you get to Charlton and you work for peanuts, hey, you're getting your work published. Totally. And you see yourself in print, man.
No, I get it. And he was amazing. Absolutely. I believe he did that, maybe, unless it was Luke McDonald, that 80s DC miniseries.
No, he didn't. That was Luke McDonald.
It was Luke McDonald.
First, before Luke McDonald, there was a 4-issue miniseries by Peter David and Joe Orlando.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And then maybe a year went by, or 6 months, and then the Luke McDonald stuff came out. And it dealt with, current events and relative issues that were prevalent in the day. And somehow it just didn't take. I guess when people read comics, they want escapism. They don't want to read the news with a superhero. Costume.
Yeah, I hear you. No, definitely. And, the jungle action of the Phantom and the Skull Cave, and you want that kind of. Yeah. And also, I remember, if it was the Orlando or the McDonald miniseries, that it also was a look back at a previous generation, and it was kind of the pirate era of maybe the 19th or 18th century. I remember. Well, I know
Dynamite Entertainment, they did a whole Phantom thing with Alex Ross covers, and they brought back the whole pirate thing and the origin. And before he got the costume, he was just, had like skull paint on him and all this kind of stuff. And so they expounded on it once again, in the original Lee Falk version, he's on the beach and he's holding a skull, and he proclaims that he's going to, be an Avenger and all this kind of stuff. And then, a couple of tribes people came out, and they gave him this costume. And then, because of the lineage of this, always a son, somehow he always found a girl that he fell in love with, always had a son, and this son was passed the mantle and the costume of the Phantom.
Right.
Funny story about that. Did you ever see the Phantom serial from the 1940s?
No. Tell me.
Tom Tyler, who also played Captain Marvel.
Absolutely. Okay? Yes.
He did the Phantom. And so black and white, 15 chapters.
I'm going to have to look it up.
I understand, since you never got to see it in color or a colorized version. His costume when they made it for the serial was in brown, so it would show up better on the screen.
Sure.
And but at the beginning of that serial, his father is sitting on the throne and he's looking a little chunky already, and he's going, "Oh," he's talking with this kind of like weird voice, and somebody hits him with a poison dart, and he's like, "Oh," and the smoke goes up, and they carry him back into the skull cave, and he's laying there. "Send for my son in America. He has to come." And so at any rate, he shows up, and then all of a sudden, then all the tribes people are worried about the Phantom. Like, what happened to him? He looked like he was passing out. But then Tom Tyler is in this, the first you see the empty throne, and then you see the flash of smoke, and then it disappears, and there's Tom Tyler sitting there all regal, all fit, in his 20s, looking really cool. It's like, the Phantom lives! Long live the Phantom, And, it's the typical cliffhanger serial,
Sure. Oh, those were great. No,
those were great.
Yeah, I've seen Spy Smasher, I've seen Captain America, of course, Captain Marvel, Green Hornet, Superman. They're the Batman ones. No, they're fun. They're a lot of fun. In fact, Turner on Saturday mornings has been showing the Batman serial.
The Batman serial.
I don't remember if it's the first one or the second one, but they are showing a Batman serial.
I have HBO Max, and since they carry a lot of super DC stuff, they got the first Batman with I think the guy's name was something Lewis, and then the second one was with Robert Lowry. And in both cases, the Batman cowl looks really cheesy.
It's ridiculous.
Things are coming out of his head, and Robin has a lot of curly hair, and he's wearing like a dime store mask, type of thing.
Absolutely, man. No, those things were terrific. And I'm sure, if we were little kids in the 30s and 40s, we would have adored them. They were amazing.
Oh, yeah. And, even though, when you had those fisticuffs going on with the gang, it would be Batman, Robin against four guys.
Yep.
Okay. And at the end of that, the four guys would get the better of Batman and Robin and drive away in the car. And you're going, geez, they wimped out. You see the new trailers. You saw the Christian Bale Batman when he comes in from the rafters and beats the crap out of all those bad guys. And now in the trailer for the Robert Pattinson one, he lands and they're shooting at him. And he's got armor and his like bullets bouncing off. And then he's beating them up all over the place. And they go, "Who are you?" Instead of going, "I'm Batman," like Michael Keaton did, he goes, "Vengeance." He's got to have that crisp voice going, "Vengeance."
So I know I'll be very interested when that comes out. Also, I don't know if you saw, they promoted it on DC Fandom. Matt Reeves and Bruce Timm and James Tucker are working on a new Batman animated series that's going to be PG-13.
Wow.
And it's going to be an HBO Max series. And no, they are very much like as hard as they can get being PG-13. I'm glad they're doing it. And of course, James and Bruce obviously go back to the original Fox animated series. So, it's going to be cool. And the designs they showed are very noir and kind of in that same area of like kind of vintage Batman rather than trying to do something modern.
I think in the last decade, there was this one company, they did a Green Lantern series, an animated series. And that same company also did a Batman animated series.
Yes, they did. Yes.
And they were like 22 episodes. And I remember I was binging them like every couple in a row. And I said, it's very stylized looking Batman. And the villains were stylized, but I found it to be very entertaining.
Agreed. Oh, absolutely. And it's funny, before we started recording, you were talking about how much you enjoyed Marvel's What If.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, when I saw that first one, it just kind of brought me back to the somehow to the Max Fleischer Superman cartoons. There was this certain, I don't know, the silhouettes that they were showing and the lighting, the cinema, beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff.
I so agree. And it's great that like Chadwick Boseman did the voice for a couple episodes before he passed away. So it was nice to see that, we got one last ride with him as Black Panther. But no, I think the stories were great. And I was a huge fan of the original run back in the 70s, the What If comic that Roy did and everybody else. And you
can never run out of stories if you say what if. Seriously, you can just. What if Aunt May was bitten by a spider? Could you imagine that? Oh my gosh!
Well, and a
Aunt
decade
May,
or
where you go? Why are you going out at night? It's dangerous out there. Oh, don't worry, Peter. I'll be right back. I'm just going to the store. But Aunt May, I can do it. No, you got homework. Sit home. And then Aunt May goes and like puts the
like
Spider-Man suit on and starts swinging around. Oh my god, that would be insane.
that would be insane. Well, and a decade earlier, DC was doing it with the imaginary stories.
Yes.
I mean, really, it was the same milieu, and they were
and
fun.
And DC also had the Elseworlds, if you remember that.
Yes,
Gotham
indeed.
by Gaslight. I mean, gosh, that Mike Mignola Batman thing, that was fabulous. And then they did a second one with, I think Ed Barretto did the artwork, and that was very nice also.
Agreed.
But when you look at that second one with Ed Barretto, and I believe it was taking place somewhere in the early 1900s in Europe, and there was a lot of, like, you've seen those French comics where they got tons of backgrounds, 12-panel pages, backgrounds galore. That's what this show Arcane reminded me of that I saw on Netflix last night.
Oh, wow.
It had that European feel to it, and but yet in sort of a post-apocalyptic type of a situation. Okay. Did you ever see this movie called was it called Mortal Instruments?
Tell me. I have no, please. I love this, Alex. You're giving me a lot of stuff to watch. Everybody.
It's a science fiction movie where everybody's world, everybody lives on boats that go kind of like flying through around on land, and they're all cities are on boats.
Oh,
so you got.
Because I saw the one where it seemed like there were cities on wheels.
Yes, wheels and looked like boats.
I know what you're talking about, but I didn't recognize the title.
What's his name? Hugo Weaving was in it.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. No,
and it just like all the big cities and these, the spires from the big castles and all this. It was just so cool.
That's good. It gives me another reason to watch it now. Well, and even describing the Barretto Elseworlds and stuff, very Jules Verne.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. You're right. It had a Jules Verne feel to it. Somehow, if you recall, when they did, I can't remember which Thor it was, where they were kind of zipping through, and they gave you, like, it just seemed that Asgard was never ending. Same thing in the Green Lantern movie, as panned as that movie was, when he first traveled to Oa, and what's his name, Tomar Ray was taking him for a tour, and they're just flying over the city and the planet and everything. It's just amazing. And you look at it and you go, wow, they keep doing that kind of stuff in the computer. It just freaks me out,
Well, and to be honest, I think had they stuck with the Oa story in Green Lantern rather than trying to shoehorn Hector Hammond in, that's one of the reasons why I think it was flawed. I think Bomber Guy is right that it was Mortal Engines.
Oh, Mortal Engines, not Mortal Instruments, was something else that would, There was a vampire movie that was called Mortal Instruments, I think. But Mortal Engines, that was the name of it. If you haven't seen it, it's a treat.
I definitely will check it out. That's awesome, Alex. I want to wrap up just because I want to give us time to talk about stuff this weekend when we get together for the Comic Art Fan Show. On we're going to be talking on Saturday the 13th.
Yep,
and we're going to talk, I believe, 2:00 Eastern time.
2:00 Eastern, right?
Yeah, so that's going to be great, man, and truly. Always great to talk to you. You know that. I was so happy to see you in Baltimore. You're coming to Chicago, C2E2?
I'm as far as I know, yes. Yes, as far as I know. Yep.
Okay. Well, I hope things don't change, and I'll see you then, and we'll try to get Doug out for a dinner, Doug Klauba.
Oh, yeah, I know. Doug introduced me to deep dish pizza many years ago.
If you're hankering for deep dish, we know where to take you. I mean, there's even
a
place that's
They've taken me all over the place, and it just seems like whenever I was in Chicago, I was never healthy enough to be walking around like a lunatic for the city, the subway system in Chicago. Oh, my God, you got to walk down about 80 feet. I felt like I was in that movie with The Night Strangler, with Darren McGavin, where they had that city beneath the city.
Yes.
Thinking, where are they taking me over here,
Well, the good news is there's a really great pizza place that's right by McCormick Place, and right by the Hyatt, like walking distance from the Hyatt. So we got you covered. Or or maybe instead of going there, we'll order in and like eat at the hotel or something like that and pick it up. But
that's cool.
No, we'll make it happen. Absolutely, man. Well,
yeah,
dude,
sounds great.
Great hangout. Thank you very much for tonight. Everybody, great questions and stuff. I think this was terrific. Here, final comment from Wayne. The Green Lantern movie should have been about Jon Stewart because of the Justice League cartoon. Sure.
Could have
Why
been.
not?
Yeah. I'm still a Hal Jordan fan.
Yeah, me too as well. But I mean, they did have millions of fans that watched that cartoon and are like, "Who the hell is this guy?" You know.
Oh, yeah. Well, the thing is that I grew up on Hal Jordan. I drew Hal Jordan. So if I'm going to see Green Lantern the first time around, I want to see Hal Jordan. I don't want to see Guy Gardner. I want to see Hal Jordan.
I'm like that with Barry Allen and Hal Jordan. They were my guys. And I love Alan Scott. I'm a massive Alan Scott fan. But I got to say at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, hey, I got to, there was a Green Lantern. There was a Green Lantern two-parter story, Green Lantern 111 and 12 that I drew, which was initially supposed to be a Green Lantern annual. And somehow that never came to fruition. So Denny O'Neil had written this story and then just broke it up into two parts. And in the first part, wow, I got to take, Green Lantern, Green Arrow were in it, obviously. And Alan Scott comes into it. I got to draw him for the first time. And then all three of them go to the planet Oa. And there was this unbelievable panel where they were charging their rings at the giant power battery. And, of course, the giant power battery looked a lot different in the movie. It was, some kind of a giant construct thingy in the center of the planet. I'm going, it was supposed to be a big lantern. What the heck, Absolutely. But, yeah.
And I love how Hal has the Alfie Bester in Brightest Day and Blackest Night, but Alan Scott is, and I shall, do my green light, or however he says his oath, which is completely different.
I never memorized that oath. I knew the other one, but I didn't know about Alan Scott until I think it was Justice League of America number 20 or 21, where the JLA finally met the JSA, right? On that great cover, and you're going,
yes.
Holy mackerel, who are these guys?
Yeah, the puff of smoke, and they're all in the puff of smoke. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Man.
Yep.
That's funny. Alex, if I were Lord of Comics, you'd be drawing a Justice Society book, unless that's too many characters and you'd want it to just be one Golden Age character. But
I was never a fan of drawing that many characters, in one panel. So if you want to do that, I will highly recommend Joe Staton. He does not mind doing that. And George Perez used to love doing that, but I don't know what shape George is in to be able to do that. Yeah, see, this wasn't bad. We had like 4 characters, maybe 5. But when you think about the Justice League meets the Justice Society, now you got all these guys going nuts, right? And even when they're talking, when they're talking and standing around, they just can't be standing around like zombies. You have to have them, looking casual, heads tilted, all this kind of stuff going on, which is fun to do. But boy, it's not time effective.
I'm hip. I understand.
In terms of, I'm at the point in my career where, I don't want to draw anymore after dinner. That's it. After dinner is relaxation time.
I respect that.
People say to me, let's see, you still working? I go, yeah, I'm kind of like part-time. I do things I like to do when I want to do them. So like I'm drawing another Phantom story. But yeah, even though the editor is pressing me to see some character sketches, which I'll get to, but I mean, the deadline on the book is March 30th. So I've got all this time, 22 pages to pencil and ink. I can do it at my leisure, not have to sweat it, unless I wait till March 1st. Then I got to sweat, which I'm definitely not going to do. Okay.
No, that's awesome, man. And no, work at your pace. That's wonderful. Hey, great talk, man. And I'm looking forward to talking more on Saturday.
Yeah, a lot of fun. And you'll just send me a similar link on Saturday?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Man. No, 100%. Everybody, thanks a lot for watching. Really excited about this week. I'm going to talk to Kelly Sue DeConnick and Phil Jimenez about their Wonder Woman history book called Her Story. That's a great Black Label book. And we had to, if people were anticipating me talking to Tom King tonight, we had to postpone it, but it will happen. So watch the skies, and I'll throw up the bat signal, and we'll know when we're talking. But thanks, Alex. Thanks, everybody. Stay safe. Stay